Make no mistake, the ramification of the Supreme Court ruling is still being felt across institutions, organisations in the country, and also across the Labour Party. There seems to be a considerable divide. J.K. Rowling, the author, of course, and campaigner in this field, saying that the Prime Minister effectively hid behind the Supreme Court decision, as there are reports of growing number of Labour MPs, some of whom junior ministers, some Labour peers as well, saying they want to challenge. They will not accept that Supreme Court ruling. So it's the political aspect we're looking at here, what it means. And indeed, we're going to be speaking or hearing from Rosie Duffield, who has a very powerful piece in one of the newspapers this morning in the Daily Mail. More from Rosie in a moment. But let's try and deal with this chronologically. It's always the best way in these matters. Here's Sir Keir Starmer, then Leader of the Opposition, speaking with Andrew Marr ahead of the 2021 Labour conference amid a row over then Labour MP Rosie Duffield. Andrew asked Sir Keir if it's transphobic to say only women can have a cervix.
It is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. But, Andrew, I don't think that...
So Rosie Duffield should not have said that. Can you explain to people watching why she should not have said that?
Well, Andrew, I don't think that we can just go through various things that people have said.
Well, I think we could. And I put a similar question to then Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves at the same conference. Is it transphobic, yes or no?
Look, is it transphobic? Look, I don't even know how to start answering these questions. I just don't find them.
The party
helpful.
Leader suggests it is. So what do you as Shadow Chancellor say?
I think that people should be able to identify with the gender that they feel comfortable with.
Respectfully, Shadow Chancellor, that wasn't my question. My question is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
Why is that?
Because if somebody why are we having to discuss parts of women's anatomy
because
on
one of your
the radio?
Because one of your colleagues feels unable to attend your conference.
And she should feel safe attending our conference.
Now, there was little clarity a year later. Here's Sir Keir in 2022 on Call Keir here on LBC, less clear on the definition of a woman. A woman can have a penis.
Nick, I'm not... I don't think we can conduct this debate with,
Sorry, have I offended you in something?
No, it's just... I just...
A woman can have a penis.
I don't think that discussing this issue in this way helps anyone in the long run.
And now, courtesy of a Supreme Court ruling, we do seem to have a definitive decision. Sir Keir yesterday.
Look, a woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say.
Let's go to Rosie Duffield, who was referenced in some of those clips and pieces of audio we played. Now, Rosie is the independent MP for Canterbury in God's own land of Kent, but of course quit the Labour Party as part of this round. Joins me now. Good to have you on. Thank you for coming on. I'll call you Rosie because you and I have worked together in television studios. Rosie, I trust you're well. What are you picking up about these growing rumblings of political unrest with your former party? Morning, Rosie.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for having me on. Basically, these rumblings have been going on for absolutely ages, and don't forget that the candidates that were chosen for this election would have been carefully vetted by organisations within Labour, like LGBT Labour, who have a place on the Labour's National Executive Committee, and they oversee all of the candidates and sort of say yay or nay. It's a bit, like an emperor with his thumbs up and down. And they will have been the gatekeepers, and some of those people are also now in the cabinet or on the backbenches. So most of those people will have agreed with the party stance at the time, which was the opposite of what it is now. So a lot of people will be, fighting against this.
You write very powerfully in the Daily Mail today, Rosie, about what you endured for the stance. For those listeners who've not read it yet, what do you tell them? What's the story that you had to go through?
It's just a sort of series of years of soft bullying, really. And there are people that I watched on the front bench yesterday who used to knock on the Chief Whip's door when he was the Shadow Chief Whip and try and get the whip removed from me on an almost daily basis. And that went on for years and years. And then our senior government members.
Can you tell me who they are?
Two of them were sitting either side of the of one of the shadow secretaries of state yesterday. They might deny it. It's, I probably better not name them. But
you know what was going on because you were on the receiving end of it, of course.
Yeah.
Why would it appear that the Labour Party seems somewhat riven here, Rosie?
Good question. I think because, traditionally as a party we want to be inclusive and kind and fair and tolerant, and obviously we've been at the heart of the fight for gay rights and things for decades, and that's the right thing to do. And nobody, by the way, I know, wants to take rights away from trans people. So I think traditionally it just comes from a good place. And then there's the not really drilling down or digging into this issue and finding out that sometimes there is a clash of rights. And in this case, it was really sharp, the clash between women's sex-based rights and the rights of trans people and their gender. And that's where people need to really understand the issue if they're a politician before they just sort of spout one way or the other. And I know that sounds hypocritical, but believe me, I've spent nothing. I've spent 5 years, digging into this issue, listening to both sides, speaking to both sides, reading everything I could. And, I think trans people deserve every right that everyone else has, but there is a clash.
When you hear the Prime Minister say he welcomes the clarity from last week's decision, I can hear you chuckling. How do you interpret that, Rosie?
I think all the clips you've just reminded us of are how clear it has not been in the last few years. I haven't really seen particularly nice to say about the Prime Minister on this, to be honest.
How big a row might there be brewing?
I think these things have been rumbling for ages, but it's just another sign of the Prime Minister's lack of leadership skills. I'm bound to say that, but, he's a manager rather than a leader. He responds and reacts rather than leads from the front, and this is what we're seeing again from him.
Well, you probably made much in accord with J.K. Rowling, who put on X yesterday, imagine being such a coward you can only muster the courage to tell the truth once the Supreme Court has ruled on what the truth is. Rosie?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's indicative of a lot of his leadership. And I think the country needs more than that in a Prime Minister. They need someone who shows the way, explains things, comes up with ideas and then takes the country with them. And that isn't happening here.
Lastly, there is around, or believed to be around, a dozen backbench MPs who said during the debate it was making their trans constituents fearful. Dame Emily Thornberry spoke powerfully about this. This row isn't going away. The political row, I stress, the political row is not going away, is it, Rosie?
No, absolutely not. This is just another battle in the war, I'm afraid. And a lot of people in Parliament, don't forget, are very privileged. I fight for the women who need prison wings and hospital wards and benefit services and that don't have a platform or a voice like we do.
Kemi Badenoch says you're owed an apology. Indeed, all other women like you who were caught up in this are owed an apology. Do you think you're going to get one?
Absolutely not, but I would like an apology for the people in the grassroots membership bits of Labour who have been blocked from being candidates, even in councils, for years and years now. That would be nice.
Rosie, always good speaking with you. Rosie Duffield is the independent MP for Canterbury in God's own land of Kent. There is a powerful piece, first-person piece by Rosie in one of your newspapers today, the Daily Mail.